Essay prompt 3. Well, let me see if I can help you with that. So firstly, let's talk about what heart failure is. So you know that your heart normally functions as a pump inside of your body. It contracts and helps send blood to the rest of your body via the bottom chambers called your ventricles. So if you understand that, we can then kind of talk about what heart failure is. Heart failure is, simply put, a condition in which your heart does not function as it should, as well as it should. Like, your heart as a whole has weakened in some way. There are a couple of different ways it can happen. But another way of putting this is that your heart cannot handle and doesn't know what to do with the volume of blood that it's being supplied. So giving you kind of the unfortunate news on the upfront, there's really no cure for this condition. The heart just cannot perform as it needs to do, and overall, you can't really make your heart muscle stronger without getting a whole bunch of other issues that would arise. And unfortunately, this condition will end in death at some point. Now, trying to not just ruin your entire night, there are good ways to deal with this, and people have lived and can live for a very long time with this condition. So you remember how I mentioned earlier that your heart just could not pump blood like it should? It's that it cannot handle the workload that it needs to do. Now, just like if you were doing with an employee, if they can't handle the workload of the job, you can either fire them. In this case, you can't fire your heart because you need that. You would have to lighten the workload for them, lighten that workload, and we can do the same thing for the heart. So ways that we can do this are by limiting our intake of salt and limiting our intake of fluids, as well as I'm sure that your doctor, if he hasn't already, will be prescribing you some medication that you can take to help with this. Now, the ways that these work are that salt and fluids are best friends. Like, salt and fluids go hand in hand. If one is present, the other will always be there. So if you decrease your salt intake, your body will hold on to less water. Same thing, if you drink less fluids, your body will have less fluids and less water available. And so what this ends up doing is it decreases your blood volume. Now, I said earlier that your heart cannot handle the amount of blood that is being supplied. Since your heart can't handle the amount of blood that it's getting, the way you can deal with this is by lowering the blood volume, the amount of blood that you have, making it to where you can handle that volume of blood. Now, the big thing here that I really, really want to major on is that you specifically mentioned that your doctor said that you had heart failure with preserved ejection fraction. Now, there are two types of this. You can have it with reduced ejection fraction or preserved ejection fraction, and preserved is the good one. It's the better option of the two. Now, what an ejection fraction is it is effectively the percentage of blood that your heart can get out in a single squeeze. The amount of blood that can be got out in one squeeze. And what preserved ejection fraction is if you put that together, it means that you are maintaining the same amount of blood leaving the heart in one squeeze. So despite the fact that your heart is failing, you are currently able to maintain the same quantity of blood that is leaving your heart. This is the best case. For a heart failure patient, is that you can maintain that same volume of blood. So from what I understand, your doctor would be much more urgent about this if you were in a late stage heart failure. So since it's likely that you're not in late stage, now I don't know this for 100%, but it's likely that you're not in a late stage heart failure situation. That means that for the current moment, your heart is able to continue working at the same rate, at the same function, or a very similar function, and you can live like this for a long period of time. And there are ways that you can really, really increase the time that you can live with this condition talking to your doctor, doing what is recommended, like taking up the lifestyle changes and taking them seriously that your doctor proposes. This is not by any means a you're dead in 3 years or you're dead in 1 year kind of condition. You can live on for many years with this as long as you are vigilant. So I don't want you to lose hope here. I want you to think about the positives. You can go on living, and you do have a preserved amount of blood. You can still function in a similar capacity. This is not the end.